For decades, it's been an ongoing conversation. Why are the New York Giants called New York if they play over in the Meadowlands in New Jersey? Well, I can't give you a real reason except for that they did get their original start in New York City. But did you know that Staten Island had its very own football team with the NFL? Not too many people know this, but what I'm about to tell you is pretty interesting. Now let's rewind, and the first thing that you were probably wondering, or already guessing, would be, well, if Staten Island really had its own NFL team, where would their home field be? Well, the answer is Stapleton. The team name was the Stapes, and they were founded back in 1915 and played a few seasons, of which back then did not consist of 16 regular game seasons. And when the NFL was just getting started, the team got to join the NFL in 1929, but they were short-lived up until 1932. A fun fact while researching this was that many sites sourced that a blocking back for the Stapes named Jack Shapiro was the shortest player in NFL history. He would stand at a whopping 5 feet tall, and if he wasn't slouching, he would just make the 5'1" mark. We all remember playing some sort of sport as a kid in our neighborhood with the other neighbors, whether it was hockey or baseball or football. And that is exactly how the Stapes were started. They started as one of those sandlot neighborhood teams where they all just got together and just started playing with each other. Then the team's halfback was the organizer of the team. His name was Dan Blaine, and the Stapes started playing what they'd call back then semi-pro neighborhood teams all over the New York City area. Back then, we're talking fields. No jumbotrons, no halftime shows, no pyros, not even stadiums. The crowds were small, and it was documented that players would only make $10 per game on the average. Now, this Stapleton team wasn't too awful. They did win several professional titles before there was a Vincent Lombardi trophy before World War I. You see, in 1918, the United States was involved with World War I, and the team organizer and halfback, Dan Blaine, well, he was committed to the service and involved with the war. Dan Blaine came back around 1919, and the team was set to continue where they left off. However, Blaine retired in 1924, but continued to remain on the sidelines and continue as the team manager. Between playing wherever the team could find a patch of clean open grass, it was then time for the team to get its home base, Thompson Stadium. It was located where what is known today as the Berta A. Freyfuss Intermediate School 49 and the Stapleton houses between Tompkins Avenue, Broad Hill, and Warren Streets. The stadium was set up in the early 1920s thanks to the Thompson Lumber Company. It was lined up against the hill in Stapleton and was also home for baseball too. It was documented that about 8,000 could fill the bleachers. Dan Blaine was also into cooking and had his own restaurant next door to the stadium. After games, players along with the fans would meet up for beers, whether it was a good game or one of those tough losses. If you couldn't afford a ticket to watch some local football, you could have joined hundreds that would actually gather up for free on top of the hill behind the south end zone. Sadly, the stadium was demolished in 1958. This was Staten Island's only stadium until the ballpark at St. George, which was completed in 2001 for the Staten Island Yankees MLB affiliate, the New York Yankees, was built. So during the 1923 and 1924 football season, Daniel Daly managed the Stapes to be able to win the New York Metropolitan Championship trophy. But then, just like the Sandlot movie, came competition to town. A man named Tim Mara in 1925 formed the New York Giants, the Big Blue Wrecking Crew, where they would play Polo Grounds in Manhattan. The Giants gained quickly a much larger fan base compared to the Staten Island team. On Thanksgiving Day, 1925, the New York Giants would come to town to face the Stapes, and they began a hot New York rivalry. The Giants won 7-0 that game and left the Stapes with a new outlook. The Stapes would go on and have some semi-okay seasons where they would face some professional NFL teams for fun. The team needed better players and would look to the university to gain some new ones. They hired a man named Ken Strong, who became a Stapleton Hall of Famer, who was one of the best kickers and powerful runners of their era. During the first season in the NFL, the team got 3 wins, 4 losses, and 3 ties. The Stapes would compete against other familiar NFL teams later, like the Green Bay Packers and Philadelphia Eagles. In 1932, the Stapes finished in last place. However, they managed to defeat the New York Giants. The team was losing money, and that's when the story nearly ends. In 1933, their star player was signed to the New York Giants, helped the Giants win the Eastern Division Championship and NFL championship again in 1934. In 1935, the franchise decided it was time to forfeit. It's unclear whether it had to do with the Great Depression at the time, or having an empty filled stadium, or most of their players were actually wanting to play for the New York Giants. But the only thing that remains of the Stapleton history today is some of the collectibles you can find online by looking up the Stapleton Stapes. Or if you go past Stapleton, you can try imagining the football chants we could have heard and watching once, but not a forgotten NFL team.